Welcome back to the TW Local 591 podcast. My name is Gary Scheibel, your local president. This is our weekly membership video update podcast. Joining me today is your administrative executive board member, Russ Dittmer.
Greetings.
So before we get into the podcast, just want to give you a quick update on 19 Alpha Alpha arbitrations. So early Thursday evening, we received the Article 19 Alpha Alpha arbitration decision, which quite frankly proved what we all knew all along, that field trips that were in question should have been proffered to line mechanics. Immediately after the decision was released, your executive board met to discuss the case and the impact on the decision, along with the phase 2 of this case that will be about the remedy as far as the lost wages due to the base doing the line work. Also at this discussion, it was immediately and unanimously decided that membership needs to have a copy of the decision right now to read it, understand it completely.
Absolutely.
Our members, they've waited patiently for 3 long years to have this case heard and decided. And the number one question we receive every week on our Friday call with the reps, every single membership meeting and every single station visit was, what is going on with the base doing online field trips?
That's an understatement.
Yes. That said, hopefully you all have read it by now. If you want to skip to the analysis and opinion, go to page 14. That's where it really gets into it. But that said, this is a huge win, not just for line mechanics, but for all members, because on the line, it simply means that the work will be done by those who negotiated that work, and because we normally perform the work. For the base members, it means the company needs to fill our bases with overhaul work and keep them busy, and not MROs like El Salvador or Hong Kong. I'm damn proud of the work that was done by our local, and also very thankful for the testimony of Tom Regan, Gary Peterson. They were the association's lead negotiators who, if not for their testimony, this might have been a different outcome than what we received. So expect a detailed brief on Article 19 Alpha arbitration decision sometime early next week. So Russ.
All right, I'm going to start off with the EAP and peer support. Benefits coordinator Tony Laporte wanted the reps to go on the floor and tell our members that for FMLA recertifications, the company is implementing multiple email sends as well as texts to remind members on FMLA to accomplish their required recertifications. I'm going to go right into ASAP. Our ASAP coordinators, Harry Charalambas and Joe Absalon, continue working for the members in the ASAP program. The reality is that the number of reports not accepted into the ASAP program is growing. In the last rolling year, there have been 11 reports not accepted. When we say not accepted, that means the report and the member did not meet the requirements to be accepted into the ASAP program. Why does it matter? Well, if a member makes a maintenance error or violation, but because of their actions, they are not accepted into the ASAP program, frankly, the knee-jerk reaction from production management now is terminate the employee. We can't stress enough the value of working 100% in accordance with the paperwork. This is your absolutely best protection from any harm or danger when working on aircraft.
Yeah, that knee jerk is more heavy-handed than ever. So please just follow the paperwork. Nobody gets fired when you follow the paperwork.
Absolutely.
So let me get to safety. So total tech ops injuries as of July 19th of this year, 1,372. Just put a little context behind that. All of 2025, there was 1,441 injuries, and we're up to 1,372. So you can do the math just like I can, and we're on pace to pass last year's injuries, if not this week, in the next few weeks. It's not good, and why we must make sure that we're always in a safe place at all times when we're working out there.
And supporting our other members in working safe as well.
Exactly. And so let me break it down for TW. So far this year, AMT 633, MLS 219, facilities 108, GSE 48, utility 10, and MTS 1. Mike Cochran, our safety coordinator, is very frustrated that the line maintenance injury review meetings with the company are put on hold for the summer flying season. We're on a record pace, and we're putting on hold injury review meetings. So if that doesn't show you that the company cares far more about operations than their employees, I'm not sure how else to put it. So he also, Mike also had some other items, which is the use of the 737 aircraft overwing fall protection kits. This would be AGS 5401-501 for the part number. That has been paused due to significant concerns regarding employee safety, regulatory compliance, and the proper use of the equipment provided. So anyone instructed or pressured to use this kit, you need to contact Mike Cochran immediately. Lightning detection has also been an important topic of discussion in the last few weeks. The Employee Safety Health Team has formed a committee to address related concerns. Any member with any lightning-related concerns should document them during their local monthly JSC meetings. I'll also give Brian Coyne's VP update. So Brian reported that grievance mediation in Chicago with the NMB mediator are set for this coming week on Monday and Tuesday. We do have a few issues to discuss there. Also, we reported that the next grievance review board, otherwise known as the GRB, is scheduled for August 26th and 27th.
I'm going to jump right into the field trip update. At-large executive board member Chris Horvath reported that there were 32 line field trips last week and 24 base field trips last week. He also indicated that it looks like all 24 of those base field trips should have been line field trips. Line mechanic field trips. Even with the decision from the arbitrator on Article 19 Alpha Alpha, we will continue to monitor and grieve any violations we see moving forward. For the membership meetings last week, just wanted to say big thanks to the reps in Boston and LaGuardia for the fantastic hospitality, of course, for the escort that allowed many of the board members to discuss safety and compliance concerns in the break rooms and on the floor.
Great questions in those meetings.
Yeah, those were fantastic questions. I'm going to roll into the GSC facilities update. GSC facilities E-board member Santos Dorda reported that a work group was being pressured to accomplish work without the necessary special tooling. The company was claiming apparently that they can't locate the tool. When this happens in GSC or facilities, please contact Santos Dorda right away. We also had an issue raised this week on the Friday call. Southeast Regional Vice President Rich Rivera reported that there has been a dramatic uptick in member-related criminal issues due to the wrap-back checks. A wrap-back is a record of arrest and prosecution back check. It's an ongoing FBI fingerprint monitoring service, which includes continuous arrest tracking, fingerprint retention, and automated criminal arrest alerts. These alerts flag any type of criminal activity that may affect your SIDA badge and or your employment. If a member has some sort of criminal legal issue, frankly, get a lawyer right away and then notify the union so we can work to assist with trying to protect your job while you're getting the legal issue resolved. Just remember, if your union doesn't know about the problem, we can't help you with the problem.
All right. So there was a lot of questions that came up about the Americans' earnings for the second quarter 2026. That report went out on Thursday. So the analysts out there, they predicted between a slight loss to a slight profit for American, but American actually made about $400 million before all the adjustments and special items, which, brought it all the way down to $71 million. Revenue of $16.7 billion, which is way up from last year's, which was $14.4 billion. So 2.1, there's actually 2.1 more in passenger revenue alone. However, obviously we all dealing with this ourselves. Fuel expenses rose by $2.2 billion, nearly doubling what they paid last year on fuel. Fuel's up $4.05 a gallon was the average is what they were showing compared to $2.29 a gallon a year earlier. And I think we all know that because that's about what we're paying. So American did say that their higher fares allowed it to recover nearly half of that fuel increase, which is evident with the $2.1 billion more in passenger revenue collected. So minus the large fuel bill, they would have made a lot of money with the additional revenue, give or take how much the fares would have risen if not for the fuel shock. In other words, do fares literally take off without the nearly doubling of fuel, and the fact that the fares did take off and the planes are still full, along with what other airline CEOs have been saying about the fares, are not going to drop post-war fuel spike. So that says to me there should be a heck of a lot of money going into contract negotiations once fuel comes back down to normal levels.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
The other thing that we heard this week, dealing with United Airlines and their negotiations, and that was a big topic everywhere we went. So they have a tentative agreement or an agreement in principle is what's being said at United with the Teamsters. We're waiting on the official release of the agreement, but everything that has been leaked out so far is shockingly bad. As a board, we discussed it, very disappointed in the lack of industry-leading wages at United with the Teamsters. No pushing the industry forward whatsoever like we have done. For some perspective on it, their TA basically matches our wages now and will already be less than us come January when we get our next raise. The way this industry works is leapfrogging. That's the name of the game for negotiations. And stagnation harms leapfrogging, especially coming from an airline that is making billions. United has around 11,000 mechanic and related. And just for an example, to throw them another $10 an hour in wages would cost less than $250 million a year. And just this second quarter, they just made $1 billion. So 1/4 of that. And they're projected to make a heck of a lot more money through the end of the year. So they can afford it. Just they need to fight for it. So an A&T, another example, at 5 years over at United, since we got our extension 2 years ago, has made $80,000 less than at AAMT at 5 years under our contract.
It's real money.
That's real. It's about $21,000 less for somebody at top pay. So 5-year mechanic, $80,000 less. Topped out mechanic, $21,000 less. And their signing bonus with no retro, what's being reported is $5,000. So tied to this, and I'm hoping this is not accurate because it's a complete sellout of the bases, is they're giving the company the ability to go from 6 guaranteed overhaul lines down to 3. So basically paying for the contract. One other note on this is the United Teamster, the way they work over there, they have an industry wage comparator. So like even on the second year, they're only going to get 1% or looking at their comparator to see where they're at. They only use Delta and American, and they don't look at Southwest Airlines like we did and we shall continue to do here at AA. So last thing, just want to touch on the IBT only represents mechanic and related over at United. So there's no excuse or the myth that the other work groups are somehow holding them back, like we've heard on some recent station visits. Bottom line, you get what you're willing to fight for as a collective work group, and clearly the fight is missing over there.
Yeah, that's very disappointing. Absolutely. The board had a long conversation on that one. So with that, I'm going to jump right into, we had a question come from the floor on the Friday call. In some stations, they've been hearing rumors that their station management has made the blanket policy that their station cannot support field trips. And they wanted to know, what can they do about this? After a lot of discussions, the answer is that the decision to accept or decline a field trip rests with station management. But that should be done on an ad hoc basis. And when we say that, what we mean is when the field trip is called by MOC, at that time, when MOC calls a station, station management needs to look at their current manning, along with who is signed up for both field trips to support the field trip, as well as overtime lists, to see if overtime can be used to supplement any possible manning needs for whomever goes on the field trip. That said, the best way to make sure all the options are available for field trips from your station is to make sure members in stations sign up for both overtime. It's really important that they have that option, as well as for the field trips. Also, when your station manager is available, don't hesitate to ask them, hey, why aren't we getting field trips into our station? And ask him to make sure MOC knows that you want his station to do those field trips. You know, if you're not signed up for both overtime and field trips, frankly, all you're doing is giving station management an easy excuse by saying, hey, no one's signed up. Go to another station.
Correct. All right. So that's our podcast for this week. Is there anything else, Russ, before we close?
Actually, yeah. We know many of you want to know more about the Article 19 Alpha arbitration decision that came out late Thursday evening and is posted on the rotator of our website. And many of you probably want to ask questions. We are working at Local 591 on a specific podcast explaining just that decision, what it means, and answer as many of the questions as we can that we've already received. We hope to have that podcast out early this week, and we did spend a lot of time on this past Friday call answering every question from your reps. So please get with them for any questions, and if they don't know the answer, we can add it to the podcast if it is sent to us. You can also send your questions to info@local591.com. And Gary, back to you.
All right. So one last reminder, if you need to contact anyone in the executive board, you can either email us at info@local591.com or direct contact information is always on our website in the members section under the title Officers and Board. Finally, a reminder, we at Local 591 do have a Facebook page and a YouTube page. Please subscribe to them to get updates and notifications whenever new information is posted. That is our podcast for this week. As always, any thoughts, issues, suggestions for future podcasts, please send them to info@local591.com. I do hope you all have a great week, and please be safe.
Take care. Be safe out there.